My name is Patrick of People. I'm the principal partner next year. As we say in Nigeria, all protocols duly observed. We're here in honor of two very important people who have done a great service to Nigeria. In a little bit, I'll talk about them, but we thought that it was appropriate to use this opportunity to say thank you. I'm not the most religious person you've met, but I know a few Bible verses. And one of my favorite Bible verses is the one about when Jesus healed I think there were 10 blind people or something. And everyone walked away and no one came back and said thank you. That will show you how good I am with the Bible. We thought it's important, to say thank you so they know that the efforts they put in is very much appreciated. And also to encourage them as they move on to other parts of the world, to know that the work they put in is really appreciated, and that's what this evening is about. And it's not going to be an evening of speeches, so I'm going to shut up in a little bit. But just to say that on behalf of, I want to thank Next Year Power and Credo for putting this together. So within the Next Year group, we've got 4 businesses. We've got Advisory, which is the one I run. Next Year Power, Emeka runs Next Year Power. Credo is run by Awele. And Next Year Security, Peace and Development is run by Udo, who will be here shortly. And we're quite grateful that Emeka and Awele thought that this is really important to do, and they put it together. The people we're here to honor, Keith Hammond. I met Keith about 7-8 years ago, and this was pre-PTFP. Anyone who's old enough in the industry will remember that in the days I'm speaking of, that we had pretty much a civil war going on in the sector. And Keith, what I found quite amazing about Keith was his ability to navigate this raging civil war. And anyone who is in the room today, and there are many people in the room today who were involved in that war in one way or the other, know that it wasn't an easy feat. Welcome, sir. So Keith has been in Nigeria about 10 years. We've had the honor of working with him for about 8 of those years. Roseann has been around for about 3 years, and we've had the privilege of working with her as well. What I find quite amazing about both of them is that every time we call on them, there's a big issue in the sector, we need to put it together. They brought an uncommon level of dedication to these issues, and I mean, that's rare. Neither of them saw this as a job, in my view. They saw it as, they came at it with very deep commitments, even commitments that sometimes you don't find amongst us Nigerians, and that is what we are, celebrating today. So this is probably the last time I'm going to speak, so I wanted to just say thank you to Keith and Roseann for all the work you've done. And as you move on to other things, we pray that you take this same level of commitment, to your new posts, and we wish you all the best. Permit me to then hand over the microphone to the Master of Ceremonies, so I can go sit in the corner and bring some food for you. So please, a round of applause for Carlo as he comes to the...
We're here tonight to celebrate 2 very outstanding individuals, Keith Hammond and Roseann. Both of them have shown exceptional commitment to the across all the spectrum, trying to improve the outcomes of the sector. Right from the early stages of the development of the reform strategy through its implementation, the privatization exercise, and up till now, he has continued to provide technical assistance across the entire value chain for the power sector. And I can readily attest to his interventions in the PTFP that Patrick spoke about, the Federal Ministry of Power, the regulatory agency, NEC, and the other agencies in the sector. Roseann has been deeply engaged in the last 3 years with improving market performance in our sector. And for some of us who are very informed about the sector, you know that market issues are very critical in our sector. And basically this night is to use this dinner as a sort of appreciation for their leadership, their commitment, and above all, the relationships and the partnership they have built over the years. So, on behalf of everybody here, I'd like to thank them. And like Patrick said, this night is not for speeches. I know a couple of people would like to make comments or remarks. I'll just call up a few people that can speak on behalf of, for the federal government. I'd like to call on A.B. Clark to go and make a few remarks. A.B.
Thank you very much. I am the federal government, as you can see. Well, I think that, I can say a few things quite obviously of the federal government. The first thing would be to thank the governments of the US and the UK for the aid that they have provided to the country over this period. I think we should all clap to that. We as a nation are very grateful for two things. Firstly, the funding and support that was given. And secondly, the two people that they have sent to provide it to us. It's going to be a very short speech. I'll start first of all with Keith. To me, Keith is an institution in the Nigerian power sector. He has been there for longer than I have, and I'm government. And in all my interactions, the thing that has really stood out for me is that sort of balance that DFID has provided to us. So, keeping us on the straight and narrow to get to our targets. Being the people we are, we like to veer off here and veer off there. Bullying, that's the word I'm going to use. But they have kept us on that path, and that's been a great service. Roseann, I only thought you just arrived, but it's been superb working with you. I think you've been here as long as I've been at the CBN. So I've interacted with you, and you brought a certain energy to, I think, well, I've seen it, the off-grid sector. And it's continuously pressuring us to do more. So, as a government, we go through our ups and downs, but these two programs and these two people have been, I believe, keeping us going in the right direction. I think both programs are sort of, one's just started and one's just about to start again, and we're very grateful. And hopefully we can revert back to course and keep on going. Thank you very much.
I'd like to call on the U.S. Ambassador to Nigeria, Stuart Sinton, to make his comments.
Ladies and gentlemen, if in your private conversations, right here, you guys, if in your private conversations and your millennially challenged email, you are right now saving the future of mankind, keep talking and keep texting. But if you can give me 30 seconds, I will tell you what I think. First, I think what will power the future of Nigeria won't be power, it will be people. not just Nigerians, but those like the two we celebrate tonight who come here to help power us in a direction that we would not go but for them. Two, I think that no good that will be done in this country will be done because of a donor that lasts. It will be done because of Nigerians who make it last and make sure that the power that is applied doesn't just start with something good, but ends with something better. And you know, Roseann, of all the things that we could do here, there is nothing better than to help power the future of Nigeria, one person at a time. So for you, and for your partner in crime, who's been referred to as an institution because he's been here for 10 years, I raise this microphone and my voice in profound thanks to you both. Here's to you.
I'll now invite Mary Muzama from Africa to make a few comments.
I was put on the agenda at the last minute just to say some sort of personal words about Roseann. I knew Roseann before I actually knew Roseann because we were introduced by a joint friend who was very dear to both of us. So I was a Facebook friend with Roseann before I came to Nigeria. So, but when I came here, I saw immediately that Roseann was Power Africa Nigeria. And her great strength in helping us to get started was to bring us this entire network of people in this room, people that are not in this room, and her passion and her dedication and her integrity were all on display for us immediately. And so, Roseann, thank you so much for your getting us started, and we look forward to your successes and seeing you here again. Thanks, Roseann.
I'd like to call Dr. Godwin Gali. Dr. Gali was the former permanent secretary to the Federal Ministry of Power. Dr. Gali.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Let me especially appreciate the American ambassador who has found time to make those comments. That's a great honor. Not only to Roseann, but also to all of us. I believe that my relevance in saying something tonight is connected with the fact that Keith in particular worked closely with us at some of the most critical times in the sector. I think it was Carlo who said something about civil wars. Or was it Patrick? But then it was a time that we realized that this country, the power sector, could not continue as it was. A sector that is so important but totally till today misunderstood. And the sector, unfortunately, has not been able to explain itself to the Nigerian people. But we realized that the government could not continue doing the wrong thing, getting the wrong answers. There had to be a climate change, as it were. We had to do something new. Professor Bath Energy, Professor Nebo, and the rest of us, and the presidents at the time, starting from Obasanjo, the Power Sector Reform Act, to President Yar'Adua, and ultimately to President Jonathan. We had to take decisions. And for this, we had a close collaboration from three international partners. First and foremost, not in any rank of importance, was the DFID, and Keith was at hand to lend all the support with his team. And after that, we had working with USAID that gave us all institutional support, robust institutional support. And after that, the World Bank all worked with us. And we went through a very ambitious, audacious and perhaps courageous privatization process, which at the time was adjudged the most transparent, the most all-reaching privatization. But people may not have realized that much of that effort was done by Keith, shuttling between Presidential Task Force on Power, NERC, the Ministry, and NBET, and also the staff of USID at the time, Sharon and the rest, and also the ambassadors of United Kingdom and United States at the time that worked closely with us. Tonight, on behalf of those people who are not here, when I was invited, I thought it was like inviting a grandfather to little baby dedication, because my colleagues who were heading the sector, none of the ministers or the permanent secretaries are here tonight. But when I saw that Keith at last was going, because we are at the verge of issuing him a Nigerian passport, I thought it was important that we come to say that we're immensely grateful. We couldn't have achieved what we did without you. And thanks for those long hours. And thanks to the government of UK. Thanks to the government of the United States of America. I think we're going somewhere. I don't want those of you in the sector to feel despair. We are gradually, incrementally moving somewhere. And we are almost getting out of the woods. I think it's just this for us to remain consistent. It may appear very enormous, but the foundation has been laid. That's what is written. The foundation has been laid, and let us continue. I think that will make Kit and Roseann happy if they come back to Nigeria some years from now and see that we are now on the roller coaster. So once more, I thank you all for joining us here to celebrate them, and thank you also for having me to say a few words. Thank you very much.
Lastly, I'd like to call on Richard Hall here to make his
I'm going up against the US ambassador, but Keith, I think, arrived in Nigeria in 2010, is that right? And I arrived a year after him. So I've worked with Keith for the past 7 years. So I can start telling you all the secrets and things that you may not have seen, having sat next to him for the best part of 7 years. So I want to talk a little bit about Keith as a person. I want to say a few things about the way Keith operates, and I want to talk about some of the impact he's had as well. So I think the first thing to say about Keith is quite a disturbing one. Keith is a Chelsea fan. Could be worse, could be Man United. The second thing to say about Keith is, during the time between 2011 and 2014, Keith was working, of course, in the power market to develop the privatisation, and I was working in the oil and gas industry for better transparency and governance. And the mood we had in our office, just the contrast between Keith and myself. So Keith was always optimistic and was always buoyant, and I was always miserable and down, what's happening on the oil and gas sector at the time. So Keith was always that sort of optimistic, hopeful voice in the office about Nigeria. The other thing to say about Keith is that he loves to debate. I don't know if any of you had the pleasure of listening. Yeah, no, absolutely. So if you say black is black, he will argue black is white. And you'll see a little twinkle in his eye whenever you make a proposition, because I've often got caught out with this. I don't know if you've ever seen the Charlie Brown comic strip, where Charlie Brown is always enticed by Lucy to kick an American football. And just as he's running up to it, she will whip it away at the last minute and he'll fall flat on his back. Well, with Keith, that's exactly what happens to me every day, when I will make the mistake of making what I think is a fairly safe comment or a contribution on something, and then Keith will get a little twinkle in his eye, and the debate will begin. And there's no way I can win that debate, absolutely no way I can win that debate. What I want to also do is to build on what Patrick was saying earlier. So where's Patrick? Where's he? Over here, okay. Patrick, you made some biblical references. I will stand on what you said, and I also try biblical reference. When we talk about the way Keith works, for me, the parable of the man who finds hidden treasure is very relevant. Do we all know that parable? Who knows the parable of the man who finds hidden treasure? Of course. This is Nigeria, we all know the parables, right? So, what strikes me about that parable, right, is you've got a man who goes out into a field and he finds some treasure, and he quickly buries that treasure. He hides that treasure, then he goes away and he passionately sells everything he has, gets rid of everything he can so he can buy that field. Now, one thing about that really reminds me of Keith is when Keith finds someone in government who he thinks is committed to reform, who he thinks is really determined to make a difference, that's exactly how Keith acts. He acts like that man who tries to buy that field. Keith will do everything possible to try and support that person, who he thinks is going to take Nigeria forward. And that's a really powerful thing, and it's one of the key things I think. Keith has been absolutely committed to the cause of Nigeria, and he's very happy for it. The final thing I wanted to just reflect on is some of the things that Nigeria has achieved with Keith standing right beside them and helping them. The largest privatisation in Africa, Keith was standing every step of the way with Nigeria on that, supporting. It's a hugely ambitious process, and Keith has been there every step of the way. There's a lot still to be done with the private car market, we know. But thankfully we have Mahesh here. Where's Mahesh? It's Mahesh. Mahesh will be the successor to Keith, working on the car market from outside. It's so important for the future of this country. And I know that Mahesh will be able to do similar things to what Keith has done. Find those people in government, find those people in the private sector who are willing to try and make it work, and give them every support we can. The final thing also to say is about Keith's work in the solar market, in the off-grid. When I first came to Nigeria in 2011, you could not buy a solar panel. If someone said they were trying to sell you a solar panel, you knew it was 419. You knew it was fake. You were going to end up with losing your money and not having anything. Now that household market has developed beyond anyone's imagination at the time. And Keith played a key role in solar Nigeria. And I think from a more sort of human perspective as well, by December this year, there will be 12 hospitals and health facilities in Borno State that will be powered by solar, which Keith has fought vigorously to get installed up there. Thank you. So I think both for his work in helping Nigeria on its economic transformation journey through the power sector reforms, but also for the work he's done that's touched on lives within Nigeria. I'm absolutely privileged to have sat for 7 years alongside Keith and worked with him. And I wish him every success for the future in Sierra Leone. I'm still hoping that we can try and drag him back to Nigeria one way or another. But please, everyone, if you give a big round of applause to Keith.
So there'll be more opportunity for.
Okay, can I have everyone please make sure you have your glasses, you have some beverage. Can I have your attention? Everyone have their glasses? Okay, I think it was Mark Twain that said, the pain of parting is nothing to the joy of meeting again. Keith and Roseann, it's somewhat bittersweet. Between both your programs, you brought all of us in this room together as consultants, providing technical support to our government, to our country. And you brought us together again. I haven't seen so many guys in about 5-6 years. So it's bittersweet. Thank you for your commitment, for your work, for your passion, and thank you for bringing us together again. I think the sector is here. The power sector is here, and you've been here every step of the way. Thank you. Everyone, please read. Please, your glasses to Keith and Roseann.
Okay, so it's time for dinner. I'll bring back to the guests after dinner.
So excuse me if I rest here simply quietly in awe of your many years and all that you've done for Nigeria. Roseann, however, I work very closely with. Roseann is a woman of style and good taste and class, which is why I like to think of her as the disco queen. No, frankly, she has, seriously, she's poured her heart and soul into the power sector and in the economic development of Nigeria for the past 3 years. A real hard worker, a real excellent networker, bringing people together, working on a number of projects, and with a number of you, either through donor coordination, U.S. government and government Nigeria coordination, private sector coordination, or managing contracts and grants in the area. So he's definitely been a very important asset to us, and one who has opened a lot of doors to my understanding of the power sector in Nigeria. So I want to thank Roseann for all she's done. I also want to be able to say, this is the first group I'm able to say this because I just got word today. We had nominated Roseann for an award in Washington, and I got word today. I'm about to look it up on the phone. But the gist of it is that among the many different activities she's been involved in, she's been very dedicated over the last year or so in supporting a number of actors in working on the transformation of gas flaring sites into productive power production sites. And for this in particular that we singled out, it's one of her really salient contributions. But I can go on and do more than that. So, but I want to say that we will certainly miss you, and we wish you all very well. Colorado, you got to keep that. So, all the best to you. All the best to you.
in just a bit. So I met Roseann, like 5 years now in Washington. And I think what struck out about me was my shoes. And anytime we meet at the annual meeting, so I love your shoes. And then the next thing when I heard she was coming to Nigeria, I was like, oh, fantastic, I'm going to have a good time with the lady because she already loves my shoes. And then she came to Nigeria and brought a new kind of, a new kind of passion. Because at the point when she came, I was already tired. Like, I was literally the only person working on Africa and I was bored. So she came and she brought this new vigor and passion, like, feel like finally somebody else that understands power and loves power was coming to work with me. So it was I think it was love at first sight, because I think I was literally the most person that understood Roseann and her passion. Because if you don't know Roseann, you probably think her passion, you take it for something else, where you need to know and understand who she is. But she's very passionate about Nigeria. She loves Nigeria, and she did her best for Nigeria. And I just wish that we had probably tied her down with a husband, or probably give her a 2,000 times or something like that. So if you have any single guy like you looking to get married, please just come through me. So I know you probably in Nigeria are not very fulfilled that everything you wanted to say the bar sector you had when you happen. But I know you're going to be obviously what you're doing. And you see the turnout here, I'm sure you're going to be satisfied that as you leave, you're giving a lot of people that know what to do. And when the time is right, everything will just start moving. And then for kids, I've known kids since 2010. I think it was at my wedding in 2012. So I've not been that long. And so we met a couple of times, donor meetings and all of that. I remember a particular incident when we had a big gossip in the donor space. We're trying to figure out who is providing most support to the power sector, GP or USI. But when we turn out here now, we all know who won. I won that and then I also recall a situation, we had this back and forth banter and then we became really close to kids and understand this passion also for Nigeria. And I'm also like, when Sharon was leaving, I'm like, kids, I'm sure you're the one that will go next. For kids stayed and finally you're going. Both side you're going, and I think it's time for you to really move on. So I'll miss you, Miss Roseann, but I know the person that is going to go up for you has a very big shoe to fill. And I told you that you can see the shoes that kids go and is leaving behind, that you can easily step into it. So just be comforted that yes, you will see all the reforms you wanted implemented. Everything is just going to fall into place very soon. So be very happy because you've done a lot. You made everyone get to try it. Because of the two of you, everybody is in the power sector still working and all that. So it was my pleasure knowing you as my boss and as my friend, and then Keith also as a friend. So I wish you guys well.
I'd like to call Roseann and Keith to make a few comments and responses. I'll call Roseann first.
Thank you. And let me, well, thank you to government counterparts, fellows and friends, all the friends I've worked with here over so many years on the projects.
I'm not going to heckle.
No, go ahead and heckle. But I'm going to start with one of my very favourite Nigerian phrases, but please allow me to stand on existing photographs. And let me also thank Patrick and Emeka for arranging this evening to say goodbye to Roseann and myself. Those who know me best will probably know that I'm in my comfort zone working behind the scenes solving problems rather than always being on front of stage in the limelight. But let me just say that I'm honoured and I'm very touched that so many people came to say goodbye to us, and it does really mean something to me. So I'm sure the same is true for Roseann. And let me say also, I've been here for more than 8.5 years, and if I try to thank everybody who has helped me during that 8.5 years, then we're all going to be here this time tomorrow. So I'm not going to try to do that. But I will firstly say that Nigerians, for reasons I certainly understand, and I think many understand, can be quite cynical about their politicians and their leaders. And over that period, I've worked with many power ministers, BTFP, many counterparts. And actually, my experience in the power sector has been of people who have been trying to do very difficult things, subject to really significant constraints that aren't always visible to everybody, and in most cases really doing their best to move the country forward. So I think, certainly in my experience, people should understand that there are many people who sacrifice and try hard for this country amongst the government and the civil service. And not everybody, there are all sorts of things going on behind the scenes, but nonetheless, there are many people who are very committed to moving this country forward. And I think I should also, as I say, I'm not going to say thank you to everybody, but I should mention the two team leaders we had with the NIAF programs I worked with, David Storer and Mark Tomlinson. Who were both very committed and very able team leaders who, to be honest, put up with a lot from me, filling them up with completely unreasonable expectations on them and on the program. Yes, you see, you will definitely. Eh? So maybe this is my last chance to apologise for the phone calls at the completely unreasonable hours of the night and day. But then let me move on and make a few more general comments, because I do think that power sector reform is the area where I've worked the most and the longest in my time in Nigeria, and I think it's fundamentally important to Nigeria's future that this reform process does continue to move forward, and it feels like quite a difficult moment in the reform process at the moment. And that in part is because of many small delays and compromises inevitably lead you to an accumulation of challenges and problems that become quite daunting. I personally remain, Richard said I was always the optimist in the team, and I still believe this will be solved, not just can be solved, but will be solved. And in a very real sense, it has to be solved, because the alternative to solving it is many years of continuing problems in the power sector and the economic burden that imposes not just on the country, but on the government, weighing down Nigeria's future. So I'd like to kind of paint you a picture as how I look at this in terms of the choices that the leadership have to make. And that is, I think you need to think about those people who didn't invest in the first round of privatisation. So I'm now picturing some fairly well-built bankers in London sipping their brandy and smoking their cigars, telling each other, "I told you so." We dodged the bullet, not investing in Nigeria. And all that is going to do is reinforce a set of stereotypes that already exist about the potential for investing in Nigeria and the projects here. And I really do think that the leadership of the country need to accept there are many challenges.
Yes.
But they also need to say, we're not going to give them that satisfaction. However difficult it is, we're going to finish the job and get the power sector to work. So that the same bankers are being called into their offices by their bosses who are going to be saying, why are we not in Nigeria? How do we miss this opportunity? What are we going to do? And I truly believe that is still entirely deliverable, and that a few good decisions will get this sector to move forward. And once you get that dynamic and positive momentum back into the process, there will come a point where it becomes unstoppable and the private sector will finish the job for you. So everybody in the room should not lose hope, I believe. It's down to everybody to make this thing get this thing over the finishing line. And I would say also that the power sector is where I've spent the most time over the longest period. But over the last couple of years, when people will know, we've had some procurement challenges. We haven't had a programme on the ground all of the time on power. It's meant I've been able to spend more time working on another challenge, which is the northeast of Nigeria. And I would say an awful lot of people in the northeast have been through very, very hard times, and are still going through very, very hard times. And it's really important, I think, to Nigeria as a whole, that the whole country can somehow understand the pain that they have been through and work together to find solutions. And my own view is that weapons and soldiers can perhaps win the conflict in the northeast, but only livelihoods and services can actually win the peace in the northeast. And infrastructure is a very, very big part of delivering livelihoods to the people who desperately need it up there. So, I mean, everybody in this room who has the opportunity to make a difference to that particular challenge, I would love to think we'll take that on and work on it. So let me just say thank you very, very much for everybody for coming, and I will shut up now and let everybody carry on another drink.
Thank you so much, Kate. Please take you quickly for
First of all, I have to apologize to Keith because I know protocol predicts that the most important speaks last and I made you go first, but I knew you would say so many of the things that I should say.
Ma'am, that's a lovely dress.
Yeah,
Like
lovely. I've been here for 2 years, Keith has been here for 8, so I felt down to you. And I realized, and my speech could be what Keith said, but I'm going to still say more. So, first of all, thank you all. The nicest thing tonight is to see everyone in the room together. What a great party, and I wish we had done this more often. So I'm encouraging next year to do this more often. Yes, this is a great crowd, come on. Secondly, I want to thank Next Year because they were like some of my first friends in Nigeria. I went to lunch with Patrick and Emeka, and we talked about what should we do and what are they doing and what can we do together, and I don't know. And I realized, you know, when I talk to most of you, when I talk about the challenges in the power sector, if I like really boil it down, I always say it's a communications problem. It's not a technical issue. It's not, you know, there's all the technology we need. There's actually all the money we need, but that's a different matter. But really, I think it's a communications problem. It's so much about the issues in the power sector are emotional arguments about misunderstood technical issues. And so the commitment that Next Year has to helping people understand what is possible and what is obstructing that possibility and what they can do about it is the most important thing. And so I'm so happy for your work. I don't know where America is, but you know, thank you so much. Oh, there you go. Thank you so much for your work, and also for just being a very good partner to USAID and to me personally over the last couple of years, because I think what you're doing is so important. And you bring every one of us together every month to talk about very interesting things, and it's great, and it's the most important thing. So there's that. What else did I want to say? Again, everything Keith said was true. It's good. You know, from the Power Africa perspective, I've had the honor of being the Power Africa lead for the past couple of years. Most people still don't understand what Power Africa is. It's all of USG trying to hopefully push things in the same direction. But the thing that I always like to throw in there just to amaze people is that the US government has agreements with most of the other governments, I think the UK, the Denmark, Sweden, South Korea, whoever, the World Bank, AFDB, others. So Power Africa's model is built on this idea around partnership, to say we're all pushing in the same direction and we want to see something that is sustainable, and something that really puts the private sector in the lead so that investment can really make a difference in this country and that the power sector is commercially viable. And so if anything is our goal, it's like finding ways that we can make sure that these commercial kind of experiments that are happening right now can really take hold and can prove the case to the people of Nigeria that it's possible and that you can pay for power, you can get good service, and that it will all work. And so I hope this experiment continues. I really hope that the next couple of years are really an opportunity for the power sector to prove itself in a way. I look around the room, and as I was preparing to leave, I thought, oh my gosh, I have to say goodbye to so many people, and I kept thinking of more and more people, and it's, as it so happens, you're all in the room tonight, so I can stop the paperwork I'm at, but, I know, thank God. But with all the different efforts that are going on here, it is very possible, and I think part of it is helping people believe what's possible, helping people understand that a commercially viable power sector is a way forward, and that if it's off-grid or if it's on-grid, there's different realities that all have to work together. And so, again, I look around the room and everyone's playing different roles in this. We have government, we have donors, we have implementers, we have partners, we have staff who used to be my staff and now work for the president. You know, it's an interesting crowd, and there's so much capacity in this room. So I have no worries that you have the skills you need. And I think really it's an interesting time. Everyone knows the election is ahead of us, and there's a little bit of a pregnant pause as we say, what's to come. But if everyone in this room is helping clarify what must be the agenda in the power sector, whoever ends up being the president of Nigeria and the new administration, it will help them move forward to figure out how do we make that successful. So I really want to thank everyone for their leadership, because I think so many people in this room are the leaders, and you're going to be so consequential in Nigeria's future. And so thank you. And to my donor partners, Dozier, to Nina, to Ina, to Keith, again, my God. Really, I think we've been at this like doing our own thing, but I think the collective of all of us working together is really what's going to make it happen. And so I encourage you all to go forward. A special shout out to the off-grid sector, REA, ably represented. I think the off-grid sector was always like the cute cousin to the on-grid sector, which it is in most markets. And we have to be honest, the off-grid sector is such an important part of Nigeria's future. Not the power sector, the future. And the fierce accomplishments and leadership of REA have been so inspirational to me, and I think you just cut through like what the possible world of everybody connects to the grid to reality of, let's look at what Nigeria is. There's a huge amount of rural, there's a huge amount of off-grid, under-grid, next to the grid, wish-you-would grid, whatever you want to call it. But the leadership at REA has been phenomenal, and I'm in awe of what you've accomplished in a very short time. I also am not going to let go of the microphone before I just comment that the number of women in this room is making me happy.
It's pretty good for the power sector, isn't it?
No, it's not. But it's getting better. Yeah. And I would like to thank all of you who are leaders in the power sector, the amazing women, the EJ, particularly, everybody. Sorry, but until we have some better equality, there's so many women in this room who I can talk about. But really, it's amazing. I was in a meeting about a month ago where it was 50-50 men and women, and I was like, whoa, that's never happened before. Yeah. And it happened. And so, we love you men, don't get me wrong. Please don't get me wrong. But there's just the right synergy when we get this collective together. So, I'm proud to have served along all of you. I'm proud to leave and know that you're going to be taking great care of the power sector. And please keep in touch. I will be going home to snow and ski season and icing my knee when I'm going to get my knee replaced. But it's been a pleasure, and I'm going to keep track of your progress, and I'm going to hold you to all the things that are possible. So,
very high note, I'd like to invite Emeka to make some
Perfect. Thank you. I had a speech written, but everything has been said. But one thing I really love about this evening is I've seen people I haven't seen in years. I haven't seen Ambassador Gali in 4 years. Fantastic to see him in the room. So many people I haven't seen in so many years, and it's good to have everyone in the same room, and we're all trying to solve the same problem. This was brought together by two fantastic individuals, Roseann Casey and Keith Hammond. Round of applause for them as well. So on that note, we'll end here. Feel free to hang around. There's some more bottles of wine, and you can network and talk. Thank you.